So I wanted to talk briefly about this tweet that Trevor Milton sent out after the market closed today. If you've been following the markets, you know that Nikola basically took a nosedive today. It basically dropped about 15% on a day when the EV market generally was moving up. In fact, much of the market was moving up, and Nikola was one of the few stocks to actually take a big nosedive. After the market closed, Trevor Milton sent out this tweet where he said, "These are the times it sucks to be a leader. Not that it changes outcomes, but I feel like I should give my opinion on what happened today, even if I get criticized. Someone moved 1.5 million shares today in one trade, $75 million on top of all other trades. It wasn't the overall market that dragged us down or herd mentality, it was carelessness and greed of one person doing it all at once without regard of others. I hope you know I care. The best thing I can do it, work hard these 4 months to bring you a vision well executed." I think he's trying to say the best thing I can do is work hard these 4 months to bring you a vision well executed. That will bring long-term growth and value to balance the greed some will have in this IPO. And then later, he actually deleted this tweet. And he said, "A bit too much hate, negative in the last tweet. Decided to take it down and focus on rollout rather than my opinion of, quote, behind the scenes, growing a company and dealing with IPO good/bad events. So head down, groundbreaking ceremony, July 23rd in factory in Arizona, blah, blah, blah." Okay. So this was kind of interesting because after he made that tweet, if you go into the SEC filing of the S1 for Nikola, the only person with about 1.5 million shares is Stephen J. Girsky. So if we scroll up, you can see that everybody else, there are funds that have more than 1.5 million shares, but they're funds. They're not individuals. I think the only individual with 1.5 million shares was Stephen J. Girsky. And who is Stephen J. Girsky? Stephen J. Girsky was the former managing partner of Vecto IQ. He is a board member on Nikola. He's a former General Motors vice chairman. Let's go back to the SEC filing. So this is basically a pretty big dude on the Nikola board. He's one of the main guys. And let's go to the SEC filing. Would he have been allowed to sell his shares today? So let's scroll down here. Here we go. Lockup agreements. In connection with the closing on June 3rd, 2020, the company and certain stockholders of legacy Nikola and executives of the company, blah, 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 entered into a lockup agreement. The terms of the lockup agreements provide for the common stock held by the legacy holders to be locked up for a period of 180 days after the closing date, subject to certain exceptions, with certain stockholders being allowed to sell a certain number of shares after 30 days. So if you ask the question, could the person have been Stephen J. Girsky, who sold the 1.5 million shares today? I think this means that it actually is possible. It could have been Stephen J. Girsky. And then what does that say if it is true? And this is speculation. But if that were true, what would that mean for the confidence being shown in Nikola as a company and in Trevor Milton as a chairman, who is kind of the public face of Nikola? What does it mean if one of the main guys sells his entire stake the first chance he gets, all in one shot, not even spreading it out over several days? So again, this is just speculation, but I thought this was interesting. I mean, that's kind of a big deal when somebody just sells their entire stake in one shot. So again, this is just my sort of 2-cent detective work, but it kind of makes you wonder. And what does it mean also that Trevor Milton basically outed one of his own board members for being greedy? And then later he deletes the tweet, having second thoughts about it. It's very interesting. There's so much drama with this company, and you can kind of see the sort of conflict going on behind the scenes, or at least you get a hint of it. So it's a pretty interesting story and to be continued.